Happy Friday, guys. It is day 36 of Savor at Home, and we are going to try a bourbon today. We are going with Yellowstone Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So this is from the Limestone Branch Distillery in Kentucky. It's a small distillery that opened up in 2010 to resurrect the Yellowstone bourbon that was produced by Yellowstone Distillery, which opened up in like the 1880s and closed down about 110 years later. So it was opened up by Steve and Paul Beam, and their ancestors were the ones who owned Yellowstone Distillery, and so they wanted to, remake their bourbon. Anyways, this distillery is part of the Kentucky Bourbon Craft Trail, and that's actually where my parents picked this bottle up for me. They really enjoyed their time at the Limestone Branch Distillery. They said it was nice. They walked in, the tasting room had closed down, but whoever was working opened up, gave them a tasting, and they had a really, really nice time. That does go to show you that the experience of when you're having a whiskey plays a big role in how it actually tastes. So yeah, they really enjoyed this and decided to pick me up a bottle. Some facts about the whiskey. So the mash bill is 75% corn, it's 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. The yeast that they use for these fermentations is actually the yeast that Steve and Paul's great-grandfather and grandfather, and maybe it traces back even farther, used. They found a yeast jug in one of the whiskey museums in Kentucky and harnessed the yeast strain that was in that yeast jug, and now they use that for their fermentations, which is pretty cool. This whiskey is double distilled using copper pot stills, and then it's matured. As we know, in order to be a straight bourbon, it must be matured in new charred American oak barrels. It doesn't have to be American oak, by the way, sorry, new charred oak barrels. There's no age statement on here, so it has to be a minimum of 4 years old. And they do say that the mix that goes into this whiskey is a blend of 4 and 7-year-old bourbons. Some of the proceeds when you purchase Yellowstone bourbon actually go to the National Parks Conservation Association, which is really cool. Let's go ahead and try this. I have a lot of notes, but I think I touched on about everything. This bottle is 46.5% ABV. So let's dive in. Take a look at the color in there. Nice color to it. So on the nose, I am getting a lot of rye, which is surprising because at 13%, it's not all that high. But there is a lot of rye spice to this. It's very floral as well. But there's some caramel and butterscotch. Yeah, that little like butter pickle thing. Yeah, lots and lots of caramel, and I'd say a little bit of vanilla in there too. It's very floral, but there's some good burnt sugar notes in here, some good cinnamon, nice baking spice in how it finishes. It's a very light bourbon, but very much like a classic bourbon, what you would expect. It's very tasty. I recommend if you can find a bottle, or stopping in at the Limestone branch distillery if you're in Kentucky. Not right now because of, stay at home, but when they're open again, I recommend checking it out. Thanks.